this conversation kept going on. And finally, I just stopped and said, "How long do you want to read your book?" To which he responded, "I want to read a couple of chapters," which really doesn't have a clear boundary. And so what I talked to him about was, look, you definitely need to practice your cello for 20 minutes. You want to read a chapter afterwards. You really are supposed to be going to bed in about 30, 40 minutes. I tell you what, how about if you practice your cello first, and then whatever time is left, you can read and get through your chapter. How does that sound? Well, all of a sudden he felt like he was heard, that he knew that I understood that he wanted to read his book and that that was important to him. But really, he also knows that cello is also important. It's just quite often, it's not necessarily the very first thing that he chooses to do. And what I needed to do was step back from my position as stepfather and not allow him to just sit in his position of being a teenager and wanting to resist me. And I had to come together and say, "You're right, you want to read, and that's awesome." Because personally, if there's any argument I want to have, it's going to be a debate as to whether or not he plays his cello or goes out reading. There's so many other things that could be worse. So I'm really happy that that is the conversation that we had. But it was a matter of taking myself out of that position and really listening to what it was that he was saying and not focusing on just the fact that he was being resistant. And that's really where most of us find ourselves whenever we're in some sort of a conflict, is one person says yes, the other person says no. And then we start going head to head. And there's a great example, and they call it the parody of the orange. And it's that I'm walking through the grocery store, and over there, there's an orange on a table. And just as I grab for the last orange in the bunch, somebody else also grabs that orange. And so we have it together, and we're pulling and pushing, and we're trying to get and I'm looking at him saying, "What, I had it first." And he's looking at me saying, "I had it first." Now, I'm going to solve the problem. So I grab a knife, I chop the orange in half. I say, "Here, you take this half, I take this half." And so just as I turn, I peel off the rind and take the meat of the orange and throw it away, because I'm making orange marmalade and I just need the rind. He peels off the rind, throws that away, and eats the meat. Now, if we had thought about it ahead and taken each other's points of view into consideration, he could have gotten twice as much meat, and I could have had twice as much rind and had more marmalade if we had just taken the time to listen and ask some questions and understand the position of the other person. And it's that type of scenario that we find ourselves in almost every day, as well as almost daily in family life. And it's just a matter of listening with both ears and asking questions.